My teenage daughter, 19 years old, has lied on 2 occasions about me physically assaulting her. The first time it happened, my ex, her mom, messaged me out of the blue asking why I was pushing my daughter. I was completely shocked. We had argued, sure, but I had never laid a finger on my daughter like that, ever. I later confronted my daughter about it and said that accusations like that are dangerous and can have severe consequences. At the time, I was living with my current wife and had 2 other children in the house, including our very young toddler. My daughter apologized to me about it when we were alone, and I now see that letting that apology happen like that was a mistake. Things between my wife and me weren't good during this time. My daughter had a good relationship with her, but it was friendly and not a parent-child kind of relationship. My daughter with me, however, could be awful. And this occurred whenever we were alone, in my wife's absence. My daughter had lived with us for well over a year, and she could be truly awful and disrespectful. I had over this time tried so hard to be supportive and caring towards my daughter, but it made no difference to her behavior. It eventually wore me down to the point where I was growing stressed, depressed, and struggling to cope with her. At one point, my daughter actually wrote me an apologetic note after one argument. I can't remember it word for word, but it was along the lines of her recognizing her behavior towards me and apologizing. However, the next day she went into my bedroom, removed the note, and destroyed it after I had written one back to her. A few weeks later, I tried to have a conversation with her about an ongoing issue, one that she had lied to me about numerous times. I tried so very hard to be calm and encourage a safe chat, but she was dismissive, rude, and disrespectful, and I finally snapped from all the stress. It wasn't an instant snap. It wasn't me losing my temper in a second. It was over a year and a bit, and her behavior even before she moved in, of crap from her that I finally could not take. I had finally reached the apex, and I broke. We had a bad argument. We shouted at each other, said hurtful things, and I ordered her out of my house. At this point, she looked shocked at something I said. All the times before that, she had ignored whatever came out of my mouth. But I think she realized that she had pushed me too far. Here comes the second lie. My wife returned from work just after this argument, and me telling her to leave happened. And my daughter told her I pushed her. My wife believed the lie, not her fault. And in those circumstances, that lie was passed on to the police, and I was arrested. Because my marriage had broken down for other reasons, I had to leave the house. A second lie about me pushing her. She then went on to say multiple lies to people about other issues affecting us and tried to manipulate people against me. When I could prove she was lying, family members believed me, and some of her lies were caught out. But by this point, my daughter had manipulated my wife against me, which is a behavior all her family members are aware of. We have all witnessed it and are aware of it over the years. It's been months and months since this has happened. My daughter is not remorseful for it and has never genuinely apologized to me. But I do not feel safe going back to that house with her living there to visit my kids. I explained to my wife that lying about abuse is awful, and lying to my wife about it is just as bad. I can't forgive my daughter for it. I actually grow paranoid around her and am on edge whenever I'm near the house or in it. It has caused me to self-harm, consider unalived, and increase dosages of mental health medication and therapy. My wife refuses to kick her out, even though she knows she's lied. My wife isn't receptive when I try to explain how my daughter has been. Instead, the responsibility for it has been turned onto me. My wife thinks that she has NPD, and this affects how my wife thinks and sees things. It doesn't make my wife wrong all the time because of it, but in this instance, my wife's NPD is not helping the situation. It makes it much worse than it should be. I have explained to my wife that this situation with my daughter is affecting my relationship with my son, and she recognized it. But there's a lot of work for her to do anything about it. My whole family has gathered around me in support because of how she, my daughter, has been with them. My family, for their own reasons, have backed off from her. All of them are deeply upset about what my daughter has done as well. I can't have her in my life anymore. I feel happy that I don't have to put up with her awful behavior, but the whole process has been heartbreaking for me. A part of me has just been completely devastated by it all. No apology can make up for it. My life has been hell for the better part of a year. Am I the idiot for wanting her to be kicked out of the house? Having her gone so I can visit my kids in their home without all this awfulness? Update. Wife knows about the post. Harassing random comments from throwaway accounts have begun. More accusations that aren't true, including me diagnosing my wife with NPD and blaming everything on my wife and daughter. I have never diagnosed my wife. It was her who admitted to me about NPD and seeking treatment. And yes, I do blame her for how she was and refusing to kick my daughter out after the lies. And yes, I do blame my daughter for her awful behavior. And yes, I do blame her for falsely accusing me of 2 physical assaults that never happened. The comment was finished with the statement that people who replied to my post know nothing. Well, they know my account of what happened with my daughter. It's you, whoever it is, who does not know. My wife's deleted comments on this thread actually support my suffering, her admission of NPD, and the fact that my daughter lied to her about the physical attack and doesn't treat her the same way she does with me and her own mother. So not only are you accusing me of lying about it, but you are also accusing my wife of it too. I have been accused of making my daughter out to be a monster on here. Well, I am sorry. I have always loved and supported her and been an active part of her life, despite how bad things were. So what kind of person lies to people about a physical attack twice that never happened? What type of person lies to other people about that? Maybe, just maybe, the way I was to her and my wife is a result of how they both were treating me. Maybe they are to blame for their own behaviors that triggered a response from me. Maybe they both avoid the responsibility of it and blame me for it. Maybe that characteristic of my wife's NPD, which she admitted she has. I don't know what the hell is going on in my daughter's head. Maybe you should figure out why someone would lie twice about abuse that never happened. Maybe she is responsible for those lies. Or should everyone in the world be able to go around accusing people of things that never happened? And maybe, whilst we are at it, no one should ever have the right to anonymously share their experiences. To the people who sent the comments, karma will inevitably come around. One day, someone will accuse you of something that never happened, and it will cause the devastation it has caused me. And better yet, people will randomly comment that you are at fault for it. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. Sounds like she has a mental issue or something. No one in their right mind would be doing this, to their father no less. You should kick her out before it escalates, and she does something irreversible. Either kick her out or make different accommodations for yourself that will take you out of that situation if your wife still won't listen to you. Your wife is another problem. She is perpetuating this abuse by enabling your daughter. I would rethink if I really wanted to be with someone who would consciously side with a known liar and aggressor. Does she really love you if she does not have your best interest in mind? Sounds like you've got 2 abusers you've got to get rid of. Think of your children. Do you really want them to grow up thinking this is normal? If not for yourself, do it for them. Best of luck, OP. Comment 2. I'm so sorry your daughter did this to you. She is well beyond the age of understanding consequences, and it's time she faced some. 1. She should have had charges of filing a false police report filed. 2. She is your biological child. You have the right to kick her out. Do it. As for your wife, she is just as hurtful and just as culpable. Please seek legal counsel and get the hell out of this relationship. You have a right to see your other children, to live in your house, and above all, to live a life not filled with fear. I wish you the best, and I hope you'll post an update later. Not the idiot, obviously. Now for the update. Hey everyone, it's been 2 weeks since my last post, and I've got some updates for you. Things have taken a turn, and I'm still trying to wrap my head around it all. So after my last post, my wife found out about it. She wasn't happy, to say the least. She's been getting treatment for her NPD, but it's a long process, and sometimes it feels like we're taking 1 step forward and 2 steps back. She's been trying, though, and I've got to give her credit for that. Now, here's where things get crazy. My wife started getting messages from throwaway accounts. accusing me of all sorts of things. They were saying I was diagnosing her with NPD and blaming everything on her and my daughter. I want to make it clear. I've never diagnosed anyone. My wife was the one who told me about her NPD, and she's been open about it. The messages were relentless. They even said that the people who replied to my post knew nothing. But the truth is, my wife had actually commented on the thread, supporting my side of the story. She confirmed her NPD and that my daughter had lied about the physical attack. So whoever was behind these messages was not only attacking me, but also my wife. Amidst all this, my daughter's behavior has been, well, let's just say it hasn't improved. She's been cold and distant, and it's like she's living in a world of her own. I've tried reaching out, but every attempt just falls flat. Now here's the twist. My wife, who's been seeing a therapist for her NPD, had a breakthrough. She realized that part of her treatment was to take responsibility for her actions and the environment at home. She decided it was time for my daughter to move out. It was a tough decision, and it led to a huge confrontation. My daughter was furious. She accused us of ganging up on her, of not understanding her, of being the worst parents ever. It was heartbreaking to see her like that, but we had to stand our ground. We needed to protect our other children and our own mental health. The day my daughter moved out was one of the hardest days of my life. I watched her pack her things, her face a mix of anger and sadness. It felt like I was losing her all over again. But at the same time, there was this sense of relief, like I could finally breathe without waiting for the other shoe to drop. But it's not all bad news. My relationship with my son has improved. Without the constant tension in the house, he's been opening up more. We've been spending quality time together, and it's like I'm getting to know him all over again. As for my daughter, she's been reaching out to family members, trying to get them on her side. But they've seen through her lies. They've been incredibly supportive of me, and it's been a huge comfort. I wish I could say that my daughter and I have reconciled, but we haven't. She's still out there, living her life, and I'm here, trying to pick up the pieces of mine. It's a bittersweet feeling. I'm glad that the lies and manipulation have stopped, but I miss my daughter. I miss the good times we had before all this happened. I've been thinking a lot about karma lately, about how actions have consequences, and how the truth always finds a way to surface. I hope that one day my daughter will realize the pain she's caused and that we can find a way to heal. But for now, I'm just taking it one day at a time. I'm focusing on my other kids, on my wife, and on rebuilding our family. It's not going to be easy, but I'm hopeful that we'll come out of this stronger. To the people who sent those harassing comments, I hope you never have to go through what I did. But if you do, maybe you'll understand a little better. Maybe you'll see that it's not as black and white as you think. My girlfriend's mom tried to ruin our dinner with her toxic words, but I couldn't take it anymore. I left with a smile, knowing that the price of freedom was worth every penny. And then the tables turned. I, 23-year-old male, have a girlfriend, 22-year-old female, who we became high school lovers in the 10th grade. My girlfriend and I have always been an on-off couple, but last year we decided to move in together, thinking it would be better for the relationship, as we do want kids in the future and want to have a stable relationship, so the kids wouldn't have to live a life with their parents always arguing or splitting up. Now to the issue. Ever since my girlfriend and I had an on-off relationship, her mother has always thrown shade towards me. She was always rolling her eyes at me when I try to make suggestions, or if my girlfriend and I were talking about our future, she would tell my girlfriend, well, hopefully he's not in the future, or he would find someone else's daughter to play with, but would laugh it off. So I would too, so the room wouldn't be awkward. But this year, my girlfriend and I threw a Thanksgiving dinner at our house. Unfortunately, my family couldn't join us because they live in New York, and last year we decided to move to South Carolina. My family said maybe next year because we decided so late they wouldn't be able to book such a late flight as it would cost too much, so only her family could come. I am cool with her dad and everyone else except her mom, so everything should be good. Well, that was at least what I thought. Getting to the party, everything went south. We're talking, and her mother had 2 wines and 3/4 of a beer. Then her dad asked why she wasn't drinking the wine she bought. Then my girlfriend dropped a bomb on us, announcing the other day she took a pregnancy test and it was positive, which made everyone excited except her mom. Her mom said, "Please get rid of the baby. He or she would look hideous. I mean, look at their ugly father." Then she continued to call me other slurs for getting her daughter pregnant, and she said I probably had lied about having a family and an orphan child. This set me off, as I was adopted into that family after my traumatic childhood. I told her to F off and stop being so rude. I said that if she had such a problem with me, she should get the F out, making me stomp out of the party, going into my room, and called my parents while sobbing, telling them the whole story. I have always been emotional growing up and never was a yelling kind of person. But my girlfriend comes in and stays. "What the f is your problem?" She was only kidding. Then I told her that she was literally insulting me and my past because she knows I was adopted and still said that, knowing I'm very sensitive about my childhood. I was taken away from my family by CPS at the age of 7 for being abused. But now, my girlfriend is saying she will get rid of the baby if I don't apologize to her mother and beg for forgiveness. What should I do? Am I the jerk? Update: I have split ways with her, and now her family is apologizing to me. They say that she is crying for me to come back. I have responded saying that this relationship is really toxic and I don't want her or me to suffer anymore. We were happy back then, but now I just feel like there's no love, and I feel like we both need to take a step back. She is getting rid of the baby. She has moved in with her mother, and I have no problem with it at all. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Let her go, regardless of whether she has the baby unaliving or not. Her mother is not going to change, and you do not owe her an apology. You are young. There are many awesome girls out there. You will make it just fine without this manipulator. Comment 2. Not the idiot. Please do not apologize. You have absolutely nothing to apologize for, okay? Your girlfriend should have supported you against her mother. I am so sorry you have had to put up with all these unsupportive people. Now for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the support on my last post. It's been a wild month since then, and I've got some updates that I think you'll find pretty interesting. So, after the whole Thanksgiving disaster, things just spiraled out of control. My girlfriend and I split up, and she moved back in with her mom. I was heartbroken, but I knew it was for the best. We had been through so much together since high school, but it was clear that things weren't going to work out between us anymore. Her family reached out to me, apologizing for everything that happened. They told me she was begging for me to come back, but I stood my ground. I told them that the relationship had become too toxic and that it was better for both of us to move on. It was tough, but I had to think about my own well-being. Now here's where things get really crazy. My ex-girlfriend's mom, the one who had been so rude to me, started calling me nonstop. At first, I ignored her calls, but she was persistent. When I finally answered, she was crying, saying she was sorry for everything she said and did. She even admitted that she was wrong to judge me based on my past and that she had been dealing with her own issues. I didn't know what to make of it. Part of me felt sorry for her, but another part of me was still angry. I mean, this was the woman who had made my life miserable for years, and now she was asking for forgiveness. It was a lot to process. Meanwhile, my ex-girlfriend was going through with her decision to not keep the baby. It was a tough pill to swallow, knowing that we were going to be parents, and then suddenly, we weren't. I had always wanted to be a dad, especially since I didn't have the best childhood myself. Being taken away by CPS and adopted into a new family had left its mark on me, and I wanted to give my own child the life I never had. But with the baby out of the picture and the relationship over, I started to focus on myself. I reconnected with old friends and even started a new hobby to keep my mind off things. It was during this time that I realized how much of myself I had lost in the relationship. I had always been the peacemaker, trying to keep things calm and avoid conflict. But now, I was learning to stand up for myself. Just when I thought things were settling down, another bombshell dropped. My ex-girlfriend showed up at my doorstep, out of the blue. She was a mess, crying and begging me to take her back. She said she had made a mistake and that she couldn't live without me. It was a lot to take in, and I didn't know what to do. We talked for hours, and she told me how her mom had been putting pressure on her to break up with me for years. She said she finally realized how toxic her mom's influence had been and that she wanted to make things right with me. But after everything that had happened, I wasn't sure if I could trust her again. It was a tough decision, but in the end, I told her that I couldn't go back to the way things were. We had both changed, and it was time to accept that our high school romance was over. She left my place, and I haven't heard from her since. My dad dismissed my pain, saying to drop the past. But how can I when their lies cost my mom a fortune? They played happy family while stealing her future, and now I'm the bad guy for not playing along? Watch as the tables turn when I, female 26, refuse to forgive my parents, dad and stepmother, for their affair, even though all of my siblings choose to forget about it. Only recently did they choose to confess to me the details of the origin of their relationship. I had always speculated as a child, but no one was open or honest about anything. They started their affair when I was 9 months old, while my dad was still married to my mom. They got married shortly after the divorce was finalized. I was 4 years old. Sparing a lot of nasty details like a custody battle and multiple moves, abuse, gaslighting, narcs, I can't bring myself to forgive either one of them. They want to act like nothing happened, starting their own lives with new children, while I feel like my life was a lie. It's affected my mental health. Being torn between two families my entire life, told that it's just normal. My younger siblings act completely normal on the outside and are disappointed that I can't do the same to keep the peace. Some siblings have now grown up to be cheaters. I have also recently discovered. My stepmom told me I need to have a breakthrough and get over it, as everyone has moved on, and it was a long time ago, even though I am just finding out. My dad said he didn't know any better and was immature. He was in his late 30s and early 40s when this happened. So am I the idiot for wanting to hold them accountable and refuse to forgive them? For wanting time to process my grief, that grief being where my parents intentionally hurt me for their gain. I feel like my life has been a lie because the life they made up and told us was not true. That families just break up sometimes, but this was one actually torn apart on purpose. I posted this genuinely to understand if I am crazy or not, because this relationship has a dark history of severe gaslighting. It's hard for me to know when what I am feeling is valid or not. A few of you have asked me about my mom. The result of the custody battle ended in me living with my dad and stepmom from age 8 onwards. It broke her. She has never been the same. We are very close now, but that is just recent as well. I was alienated from her from age 8 onwards, as they painted her to be the devil, aggressor, problematic parent. She has her flaws for sure, like being emotionally stunned and immature too, but she is not hurtful. She's a very kind, gentle person trying to do her best after her husband and child were taken from her, using her words. For those thinking I am trying to be the main character, maybe I am, and I'm fine with that. I've been the peacemaking child for my entire life, and they are shocked that I am no longer wanting to do that. Maybe I want to be the main character for a minute and have my feelings be heard and validated. When you cheat, you uncenter your children from what was your main focus and priority. So I'd really just like to be a character at this point. They have been the main characters of my entire life. I didn't even know I could be a character until today from one of the comments. For clarification, as I said, only recently did I learn of this information. I was raised under the assumption that you are all making that marriages break up. Not until now did I learn that it wasn't that at all. It was a malicious relationship by their own admission. My stepmother said that she participated in the affair for her own gain, fully knowing other children existed because she wanted personal and financial gain. I haven't been bitter for 25 years, just a couple of months since I found out. Second edit for more context. I was no contact with them from age 19 to 23 for a bunch of other reasons and have been trying to reconcile with them. The admission of all this is oddly feeling like an intentional desire to push me back into no contact since working out relationships is hard. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. You're entitled to feel exactly how you feel. Other people had different perspectives and experiences, and if those things allowed them to make peace with what happened, good for them. They're not you, and don't walk in your experience. And I frankly find your stepmother's attitude completely self-serving. They weren't teenagers, and both knew your mother and children existed, so the choices they made are on them. It's not your responsibility to make her or your father feel better about them. Of course, I hope you find peace in all this, but how it looks is up to you. Don't twist yourself into someone you're not to placate them or your siblings. All this to say, not the idiot, not the jerk, in my opinion. I know the hurt of betrayal and how hard it is to bear. Please be kind to yourself. Comment 2. Not the idiot, not the jerk. Cheating has consequences, and it seems like they didn't receive any consequences for cheating and harassing your mother while she was dealing with a newborn. It's clear your stepmom knew he was married with children and had no problem helping him destroy a family. They both had no problem psychologically, emotionally, and sexually. Harassing your mother, as that's what cheating is. You don't have to forgive them. You don't have to respect them. You don't even need to have a relationship with them if you don't want to. You can go on and have a good life without them. You can also offer your mother comfort for what they put her through. I hope your mother is healed from what happened to her. Now for the update. Hey Reddit, a lot has happened since my last post. I've been on an emotional roller coaster and I need to vent. After I shared my story, things escalated quickly. My dad and stepmom tried to smooth things over by inviting me to a family dinner, as if a meal could erase years of deception. It was there, in front of everyone, that my stepmom dropped a bombshell. She admitted that she knew about my existence and my mom's when she started the affair with my dad. She said she went through with it for her own benefit, not caring about the damage it would cause. I was stunned. My siblings sat there, some with their jaws on the floor, others avoiding eye contact. I couldn't believe the audacity. My dad, who had always played the I didn't know any better card, just sat there, nodding along. It was clear he was in on this twisted confession. They thought this honesty would help me move on. Instead, it felt like they were trying to push me away, maybe even back into no contact, NC. Because fixing our relationship was too hard for them, I've been trying to reconcile with them, but this revelation felt like a slap in the face. It's like they were saying, here's the ugly truth, now deal with it. I left the dinner early, feeling more alone than ever. The next day, my phone was blowing up with messages from my siblings. Some were shocked and apologized for not believing me sooner. Others were angry at me for causing a scene and ruining the dinner. One of my siblings, who I recently found out has followed in my dad's footsteps and cheated in their relationship, told me I was overreacting and should just get over it. The divide in our family was growing wider. I've been reflecting on my childhood, trying to piece together the lies and the truth. I remember how my dad and stepmom would tell me that my mom was the problem, that she was the reason our family was broken. But now I see it was their actions that tore us apart. My mom, who I'm close with now, was painted as the villain when she was actually another victim of their selfishness. I've been trying to process all of this, but it's hard. My mental health has taken a hit. I've been in therapy, working through the gaslighting and the abuse, trying to find some semblance of peace. But it's a slow process, and my dad and stepmom don't seem to understand that. Just when I thought things couldn't get worse, I found out that my dad and stepmom had been using the family business to hide money during the divorce from my mom. They cheated her out of what was rightfully hers, and they've been living comfortably while she struggled to make ends meet. This injustice has been eating away at me. How could they do that to someone they once loved? I confronted my dad about it, and he had the nerve to say it was all in the past and that I should focus on the future. But how can I focus on the future when the past is so tainted? How can I trust them when they've lied and manipulated for their own gain? I'm at a crossroads. I don't know if I can ever forgive them. I don't know if I want to. My siblings are torn, some siding with me, others with our parents. It's a mess, and I'm right in the middle of it. I've been the peacemaker for so long, but I'm tired of it. I'm tired of being the one who has to bend and forgive. I want to be heard, to be validated. I want to be more than just a character in their twisted story. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.